was talking about.
Exactly.
But that plus a little bit of housekeeping too. So I'll be walking around typing and listening and taking care of the cat all at once.
Okay, you're gonna be listening in as you go. Okay, I got you. That's awesome. All
So,
right.
I'll still be here. I'm just getting off the camera.
Yeah, Manuel's is in the background doing his networking diagram thing. So
It's actually looking really good.
yeah, remember William had volunteered if you need some tips. So he's here too in between.
Oh yeah, I'll show it to you right now. I'm almost done.
William. But there you go.
Okay. So, of course, we want this.
And this is being recorded for the team to watch how to secure, right?
Yep. So
Perfect.
what I've got here in front of you guys is a complete machine that I've already built. Now, if you look at the command I've got on the screen, I'm going to SSH with my user account to the IP address of the security server that's running. And this is a Linux box, it's secured. We're specifying a username and a secure port. So when I press enter, it should, and it takes a second because I've got multiple machines. You notice there's no logon.
Ah, I see. Do you have the SSH key imported?
We have the key imported, and it is set up to completely use that logon instead of your actual password.
Oh, nice. I want to see this.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting piece. Now, yesterday when we were doing this, we ran into one little problem, and I had made a note, and it's something very simple, but it'll bite you in the caboose. If you look on some of the forums and in some of the message logs, some versions of OpenSSH tell you in one of the configuration files to use inet4, and then under Debian it says inet. And keep in mind with Linux, you add one comma period or an extra letter, it blows up and it will bite you. And I got bit. And this, by the way, and by the way, this does work on Hyper-V as well. So you can run this off of Hyper-V as well. So this is our machine we're going to be working with. It's called, this is our second security machine. So the first things that we're going to do is enable automatic updates. And this is very simply just a list of commands that enable automatic updates. And this also does this when the system is not being utilized heavily. So it's a low unattended upgrade, and it will reboot your server if need be.
So they can run these commands on like Ubuntu server or anything like that, right?
There's going to be some command structures a little different because some of them use yum, some of them use various other methods for installation, but this is basically the same on all systems.
Got it.
So we're going to log in with root. And by the way, over here, if you try to log in as root, you cannot log in as root. So root is blocked from being logged on to. The only valid logon is your account. Now, the other thing, just as an FYI, if you intend to set up multiple users later, you will have to migrate their SSH pub files to the authorized key file by copying all those files and then manually moving them. Okay? Because once you've done that, it pretty much limits you from doing the SCP copies.
All right. I'm just gonna make an announcement real quick too. Just so whoever's watching this that's not here in this room, this is actually a lab, or William is trying to show you how to harden your Linux machine, your system. Right? You want to add anything to that as far as what we're training? Okay.
This is just basically this will tell you how to harden it, and it should keep most people out unless they're bound and determined. Sorry. And I can send out all these instructions for anybody who wants them. Just let me know as well.
Yes, that'd be great.
All right.
Can you write a PowerShell script to do all this for you? Or you can't? You could?
I haven't tried it yet, but that'll be next.
I got you. I'm just like, Will is like, hey, what? I just done with this one. Hold on a second.
Yes, you can script a lot of this. I have seen a couple of people who've done it, but I'm not quite that good yet.
The reason I was saying that because your friend over there, Jesse, he is pretty decent at that now. He likes doing that stuff.
Oh, cool. Well, definitely, if he chooses to sit down and look at it, he can help advise me and teach me a little bit on the scripting. I would love to do that. Now, in the instructions, you guys will see priority. It looks like that's one long dash, but it's actually 2 dashes. And that will cause you some headaches if you don't catch it, because some of the commands don't work if you don't do that. Okay. So basically at this point, our unattended upgrades are all installed. So the server will automatically start installing its updates as you run it when there's low utilization. Now, next part is we're going to be creating user accounts, and we're also going to be okay, there we go. All right, so we're going to add a user. Oh, sorry, I did multiple commands, mixed multiple commands together. Apologize there. So we just created our user. All right, so our user has been added. Now we're going to add ourselves to the sudo user group so that we can execute things on against our server. So now we are going to log out. Then we're going to log in with our new account that we just created. And we're in the root of our home directory. So we need to make a directory for SSH. And basically we changed the permissions on that SSH directory and everything is good. So right now, what we can do is we log out of the server. And we're going to open PowerShell. Now for PowerShell, we need to make sure that we are logged in to the logged in, and the default is going to be Windows System 32. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to change directories to users, your local workstation account or the account you're logged in as, and the .ssh folder there, because we're actually going to create keys. And these are the keys that I have created. And so we're just going to create a new one. And we're going to use the SSH key gen tool. Now, because we already have a default key name of ID_RSA, we're going to give it a new name, and we're just going to go to SEC2. Press enter. And it is now generated. So now we're going to actually copy this key from our PC over to our Linux machine. And this is what I was talking about. We're going to take the RSA key that we just created, and we're going to actually copy it to the Linux box with the name authorized_keys. But we do need to know the IP address of this box. And it is 15. It's on the wrong network, so we're going to change it. Reboot real quick. This won't take just a second. So I'm going to go into our commands. Waiting for our machine to come back up. It's almost done. And our IP address is 68.136. So our file is copied. And so now we should be able to do the following. And we're simply using SSH from PowerShell, and we are now logging on to the now, let me go back up. We're going to rerun our chmod command on that directory to make sure that the permissions are properly set. If that doesn't work, what we'll do is we'll delete the authorized key and we'll recopy it up again. Now we're logged on. Our permissions didn't apply properly. So let's go back down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually start modifying your server configuration. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we're going to log out again. We're going to log off in here. Minimize this. And this is when it's good to actually have two working servers. So what we're going to do is we're going to log into our shd config file that's located in etc_ssh. Then we're going to use sudo nano sshd_config. And we'll come over here. And if you don't use sudo when trying to edit this file, it won't let you save it because the file is actually in use. So we're going to go down, and the first thing we're going to change is the default port number. In the example I have set up, I'm using 8196. Now this is important, and this is where I made the mistake last night. If you type in inet and you put 4 behind it, that does not work, and it is a misconfiguration and will cause you nothing but grief. So you back it off, and it is strictly inet. Now our next thing that we're going to change, and you'll see it over here in this document, is we're going to locate permit root logon, and we're going to disable that. So we're going to look at our example file to make sure that we put all the settings in correctly. Go over here. We're going to change that to no. Our next setting is password authentication. We're going to locate that. We're going to change that to no as well. Well, those should be the changes that you need to make. So we're going to do left control O to write the file, left control X to exit. So okay. We're going to type the command sudo system ctl space restart SSH, and we're going to wait just a minute, and then we're going to go over to PowerShell. We're going to try to log on, and it should not allow us to log on now. And the connection is refused. So now what we're going to do is we're going to specify a port 8196, and we're going to specify -I C:\users \speed \.ssh and we make sure that I'm spelling this right. SCC2-W CARTLJR 68. That should be it. And there you go. We're logged in. And now we're not quite done, but we're logged in now. And it is using passwords now to finally make it kind of secure. So what we're going to do for the last part of this is we're going to actually invoke a firewall. And I'm going to switch over to the other server for a second. I'm going to show you something. So sudo So it's not coming up on that one right this second, so it's all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a command sudo ss-tupln. And that's going to show us our ports that are open. Right now we have I think that's DNS, and we have port 8196 open. So to finish securing it, we will install a firewall on here. So we're going to install our firewall real quick. So now that the firewall is enabled,
I will.
yes,
Is it possible for you to send me that script? Because I'm actually about to go now.
certainly I can.
All right, because I want to use that to set up my machine too.
All righty.
All right, thank you. And just send it to me through Slack,
I will.
and I'll have to catch you guys a little later.
Now, was that, who was that?
Marcus
Okay, Marcus, what's your last name?
Fryer, Fryer.
All right. We'll get that out to you sometime today.
Yep, and if you forget, I sent the message in the chat box
Okay.
for that too. So that way, in case you forget, you'll see my name right there saying.
All right. Not a problem.
All right, thanks, man. Y'all have a great day. Great lesson, by the way. I was following along up until now.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcus.
All right.
Trying to get the firewall. I thought the firewall. Oh, you have to reboot. I'm sorry. But that's basically it. At this point, you've secured it. The firewall should come up. Now, if the firewall doesn't start on log on, it's just a command that I forgot to set to start on boot. So, but basically at this point, everything should be up and running, and you can log in using your certificates, and it will protect you. Does anybody have any questions?
No, that's really cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to show that.
Oh, not a problem.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think, Jesse?
I think it's a pretty good way of locking down your SSH.
Cool. Now, I will give NetworkChuck and AWOL credit for all of this. Those are the two guys who put this together. It works really, really well. Last night I was playing with it for a couple of hours after I got it working, and I had an FTP server, a web server, and I had SSH all running from behind the firewall, all secured and managed.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. And it just takes patience. Like, this whole thing is a patience game. Like, for example, with default builds of Debian and Ubuntu, sudo may or may not install during build. So you may have to manually install sudo. Of course, these are all things that I found out while doing this.
Now, what kind of operating system are you using?
This is Debian 10.9.0.
Okay.
And I will offer up the, if you want it, I will offer up the VM to anybody who would like it to play with. And I will give you the admin log on, and then you can play with it to your heart's content.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Now, what would be the differences in doing this like for Ubuntu?
Okay, if, like I was saying, if you had like 20 some different users or 30 users,
Right.
once you've hardened it, what you have to do is either you have to go in and use the Linux keygen command and create all your keys on Linux, and then copy them to the user's home directories as authorized key, or you create them all on your Windows PC with a PowerShell script, and then you burn them to a CD, and then you mount them on your Linux box.
Let's see.
So would you need the CD inside at all times in order to access it?
No, just one time.
Okay.
And that's if you created the keys on your Windows machine only. If you create those keys out on the Linux box and then manually copy them into each individual user's home directory, provided you give yourself permission, because you'd have to do it you'd probably want to do it as root at that point, and then copy everybody's key over, and give the permission like I did, the mod permission and all that other stuff. It's quite involved.
It sounds like it would build up to a heavy task over time.
Well, generally a Linux server like this is going to be set up on the outside. It's not going to really be used on the inside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like the edge network or something.
Yeah, yes, these things can be used internally. And most of the time, if you're using it internally, you're using SMB for it or TFTP or FTP internally. You're basically using it like a domain controller or a file server.
Oh, okay. Would there be a way to upgrade that to a domain controller if it's not already?
You could do server 2008 NTFS emulation.
DFS, what would that do?
It would make it look like a Windows NT 2008 server.
Obfuscate the device?
Hmm?
Obfuscating the device details?
No, What you actually do is I think it's some kind of, it's an SMB tool. So you set the thing up as SMB and then you run, and I have not done it in a long time, but there are open tools that allow you to run a Linux box as an NT server domain controller.
Okay. Interesting, thank you.
Oh yeah. Why isn't the firewall going active?
You have to do a sudo service and then UFW status?
Well, that's what this should tell me. It says that the status is inactive and I started it.
Well,
Hold on.
is there
I'm
a
gonna,
dependency?
I'm gonna stop the recording because I don't want my computer to run out of disk space. I'm gonna stop the share for a second.
Hey, I wanted to share my